is also, why did you write the book? And now for this one they ask, what does TR's last war mean? What are you referring to? And he's fought in the Spanish-American War, the Rough Riders charged up San Juan Hill and all that. And so is it about World War I per se? What aspect of it? You know, like in the not to get too biblical on everyone, but a lot of parables and meanings have many meanings. And so this one has as well. He wants to get into World War I and fight. He wants to have America prepared to fight. He's fighting Woodrow Wilson tooth and nail on all sorts of levels. And he is fighting other authors get exhausted by him by the time they get to this period of his life. And what period of life is this? And when does the book really start? There's a vignette at the beginning where he's talking in September 1918. But the book really starts in May 1915 when he is on trial. He's a very litigious president. In 1909, he sues Joseph Pulitzer in the New York World. No, he has the federal government sue Joseph Pulitzer for criminal libel against the government of the United States. If this succeeds, freedom of the press, boom, but it fails. It has to do with, did TR's brother-in-law pocket some money for the building of the Panama Canal? Just a report, but he sues, in 1913, a newspaper editor in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan because that newspaper says he's a drunk and everyone in D.C. knows it. Well, it's not true. As Henry Adams once said, he's surrounded by newspapers. He is the darling of the working press. A fellow named Oswald Garrison Villard, who was a reformer who did not like TR and who operated simultaneously the New York Post and the Nation magazine. One can imagine them in the same sentence, let alone being in the same page, but they were at one time. Said that TR one day gave some reporters, working reporters, here are two stories. Here's one you will print today, and it is, and you will print this. The next day is the denial of what I'm supposedly telling you, and you will print that as well. And they did. So they're all around him at this courthouse in May 1915. They don't have to go trooping up the hill to Sagamore Hill to find him, to learn his opinions about the sinking of the Lusitania. 1,000 people are killed or more. A lot of Americans are on it, women and children. TR is outraged. When World War I had started, he'd been very un-TR-like. He says, well, Germany's a big power. Sometimes big powers have to do what big powers do against little powers like Belgium. And we have to support the administration. But by May 1915, he's changed his mind on all that. He's changed his mind on Germany. He's changed his mind on the administration. And he calls it piracy on the high seas. And he declares war, not so much on Germany, although he does, but against the Woodrow Wilson administration and against Woodrow Wilson personally. Wilson is in Philadelphia, and it is at this moment where he gives the talk, where he says sometimes a nation, like a person, may be too proud to fight. Theodore Roosevelt was never too proud to fight, and he'd been wanting war personally and as a nation for a very long time. In the 1880s and 1890s, he wanted to go to war against Germany over Samoa, against Britain over boundary disputes in the Western Hemisphere, and says this would be a great opportunity to seize Canada. He makes the statement that, you know, privately, that it would not be such a bad thing for our East Coast cities to be bombarded by naval flotillas if it would teach the Americans a lesson regarding preparedness. As someone who goes to New York a lot, I disagree. And so he's very warlike. He wants to get into war. He goes to war in 1898, and Wilson's statement absolutely inflames him. These guys have been friends from or they had known each other since 1896, and TR actually admires him for quite a long time until Wilson starts taking some pot shots at him publicly. But what really inflames TR against Wilson is not so much the war, and it's not even that they run against each other for president in 1912, because in 1912 TR is so busy hating William Howard Taft, he doesn't know just how much he hates, or is going to hate, Woodrow Wilson. What really teased TR off about Wilson is Wilson negotiates a treaty with the Republic of Colombia to further compensate them for Panama and the canal, and to essentially apologize for what the United States did to Colombia, which means to apologize for what TR did. And this sets him off, and he's going to be off against Wilson the whole time. TR, as I said, is very warlike in attitude, and he is right about America not being prepared for war. Woodrow Wilson keeps issuing these statements against the Germans, and the country is, in fairness to Wilson, the country is divided. The country wants, American citizens protected and all that. They don't particularly want to go to war at that point. The administration is really confused, though. Wilson appoints William Jennings Bryan, a pacifist, as Secretary of State. A fellow named Lindley Garrison from New Jersey, as Secretary of the War. He wants preparedness, and because they both do not agree with Wilson's attitudes and proposals for preparedness, they both resign almost at once. Whereupon Wilson appoints an interventionist to replace the pacifist Bryan and a pacifist Newton Baker to replace the interventionist Secretary of War. So the dance goes on, but all the while TR is supporting his friend Leonard Wood. Leonard Wood had been chief of staff. He was a general, he was a doctor actually, and these guys, TR and Wood, had known each other from the 1890s in Washington, where Wood had served as a personal physician to like Cleveland and McKinley, and then he becomes friends with TR. And he's running these ideas for gentlemen camps, where upper middle class guys like TR's son from the Harvard Club will go off on their summer vacation to like Plattsburgh, New York, and learn how to drill and be officers and all that. Wood makes, in his public statements, he makes General MacArthur seem subordinate, okay? And Wilson and the administration put up with that as much as they can. TR will go and make statements on federal property blasting the administration. Wood will apologize. TR will pack up more and more and more. And TR wants to affect public policy, wants to affect his revenge on Wilson. Be president again, but how's he going to do it? The Republican Party is still conservatives in leadership. All these progressives, they do not get along still. The Republicans are not about to nominate him. The progressives really want to. There's a Republican convention in 1916. They're not quite sure who they should back. Most of them don't want to back TR. But the Republicans and the progressives hold their conventions blocks apart from each other at the same time in Chicago. The more radical progressives want to nominate Theodore Roosevelt first and put a gun to the Republicans and say, you want to repeat this three-way disaster we had in 1912 or not? TR is very wary and very down on things since 1912 and 1914. And he says repeatedly in correspondence to people, if I come out for something, I have the feeling I just hurt the cause. You know, I'm just sort of poisoning public opinion. And at the beginning of the year, he's very, very much down. We have, interestingly enough, we have the sort of Nixon tapes of this convention. Not real tapes, but his big financial backer, a Wall Street guy, was so wealthy he installed a private telephone line between Chicago Hotel and Sagamore Hill, where TR was holed up. You know, because anyone who wanted to be a candidate wouldn't go near the conventions back then. In 1904, TR does not campaign. Imagine TR being quiet for a whole year almost. But certain decorum, even for TR, was held. So we learned, and this phone line cost $9,000. And not only did his friend spring for $9,000, he springs for a stenographer to record every word. So we know exactly what TR was saying, and he basically admits he's stringing his progressive people along, and using them. The convention ends up nominating, the Republican convention ends up nominating Charles Evans Hughes, Supreme Court Justice, who leaves the Supreme Court to run for president, and the progressives nominate TR, and he immediately says no, I don't want it, basically. And why don't you nominate Henry Cabot Lodge, who is by no means a progressive, and this just is almost it is an insult to the progressives. TR has been using the progressives in this situation, and he has really no more respect for them than he has for the stand-pat opponents in the Republican Party. He says on a couple of occasions to people, he says, the Republicans, the conservative Republicans, have all the crooks, and we have all the cranks. Nonetheless, despite the fact that he hates Charles Evans Hughes personally, does not like him, and it's fire and ice. TR's fire personally, and Hughes is the bearded icicle. They don't get along in a lot of ways. TR is not sure where he's going to stand on preparedness. TR goes off and supports him, but the surrogate, I can't think of another example where the surrogate has so much overshadowed a campaigning candidate, and he becomes the issue. And Hughes has problems. He's running against peace and prosperity. The country is at peace. It's making money hand over fist selling stuff to the Allies. People are working. Farmers are growing more stuff than they ever have before and selling it at higher prices. And Hughes has to reunite the two wings of the Republican Party. Not easy. It's a balancing act. And someone I think makes the statement that Hughes, there's these bold opinions on either side, and his palate is to make them gray and mush. And so he cannot get traction against Wilson. TR thinks Wilson is going to win, or that Hughes has won. He makes a statement very much like the Chicago Tribune in 1948. Well, it's all over, and Hughes will govern, and I'll just fade away into sunset. He's always fading away. He's always going to walk away from politics. As far back as at least as 1905, election night, when he says he's not going to run again. Oh, there's an interesting story there. When he runs again in 1912, people say, you said you weren't going to run for president again. And the explanation is actually given. Well, when you ask a man in the morning whether he wants another cup of coffee, and he says no, it just means he just doesn't want another cup of coffee then. It doesn't mean he doesn't want another cup of coffee for the rest of his life. So it's like, well, if you want to elect him in 1912 or 1916 or 1923, you'll have no objection. But so Wilson wins, and he had run on the platform, he kept us out of war. So of course we get war a month after he's sworn in again for a second term. TR is on a fishing expedition in Florida, hunting devil rays. How are we doing on time? Are we okay?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay. He goes down, he's never hunted these things before. They're like big manta rays, they're called devilfish. And he's never done it before, and on the first harpoon, imagine TR is like Captain Ahab, and the first time he sinks his harpoon into this female, which is like 13 feet wide, and it's the second biggest female ever harpooned, blood all over the water, and then into a 16-foot male, and it drags the boat for a mile. This is why he is so much bigger than life. And as he's coming back from this fishing trip, he stops in Washington, gets off the train, war's been declared, and he runs up to the White House unannounced because he wants to lead a regiment on the Western Front. He's pushing, you know, he's done okay harpooning, okay, but it's a different war. It's a different war, and within a year his wife is going to send him to a fat farm in Connecticut. Seriously. Okay, you're going to lose weight. So he's got this idea, but you know, you really should like call ahead, because when he gets there, it's like President Wilson left 10 minutes ago for a meeting, and he doesn't hang around. He goes to New York, but about a week later, he comes back down again, unannounced, in the middle of the night. But this time, you can't keep a secret in Washington. They know he's coming. Wilson is there. He lets him in. TR makes his pitch. And it's fairly cordial, considering all the things that TR has said about Wilson. And Wilson is very restrained. For a guy who's so famously prickly, he doesn't respond. He doesn't respond to TR publicly. Now, I'm not a doctor, but maybe Wilson shouldn't have held all this anger in. Maybe he would have fewer strokes or something later on. But so he lets TR down gently at that meeting. TR says, if it was anyone else but that guy, I don't trust, as far as I could throw, I'd say, I'm going to lead that regiment. And he's right. He's right in this case, because Wilson rejects him, and Wilson is right to reject him. But TR, as I said, has been right about preparing this. Wilson has been very much laggard and afraid to show any favoritism by even getting our army up. So when we go to war, we've got an army of 83,000 men, which is smaller than the amount of casualties the British take at the Battle of the Somme, or the French take at Verdun, or the Germans take at Verdun. We have our soldiers training with broomsticks instead of rifles, and military bases flying French planes, because we really don't have anything that can get into combat. We use their Nieuports, because they don't want their Nieuports anymore. They want their Spads, the French. So TR is right in this regard. He's turned down, and he's afraid of another thing, which is that Wilson is also going to blackball his forces from going into combat. Because you don't advocate a war and then not fight it personally. And the family is very patriotic. Ted Jr. has been involved in these training camps. Archie has as well. They both actually are allowed very quickly into the army, go with Pershing staff in France, and then really quickly, relatively speaking, into combat. They're among the first Americans in combat in France. Archie is wounded. He suffers from poison gas. He's a brave guy. He's the guy who you see in the movie The Longest Day, played by Henry Fonda. When they land at Normandy, he looks around and they're in the wrong beach. So he says the war starts from here. Okay, and he dies like a week or so later on the beach. Archie is wounded. He was worse in World War I. His knee is shattered. His arm and his nerves. His nerves are like severed or almost severed for an inch. So he's almost like held together by scotch tape. And as the war ends in November, he's home. And in France, he's in the hospital for 4 months. Kermit goes off to fight with the British Army in the Middle East. meets Lawrence of Arabia, who's a great linguist. He learns Arabic. At one point, he comes across a group. He's alone. He comes across a group of Turkish Ottoman soldiers, and he's alone, and he doesn't even have his pistol with him. But being with the British Army, he has a swagger stick and waves it at the Turks and says, "Well, you should surrender to me," and they must know how the war is going to end, because they do. So he gets a big medal, and then he goes off to fight in France, where all the other brothers are, including the youngest brother, Quentin, who in April 1917 is a 20-year-old sophomore at Harvard. He's allowed into the aviation corps. He loves aviation. He's great mechanically, and probably the most promising of the brothers. If one had become president after TR, it might have been him. He's a real sharp. But he learns aviation, and again, America is not well armed, so they don't have planes. They don't have planes to train pilots. He's in France 11 months before he gets into combat, real combat with a German plane, and he gets a kill on his first mission against enemy planes. And a few days later, he goes up again on Bastille Day, July 14th, 1918, and takes 2 bullets right to the head. The plane goes down behind German lines, and a telegram comes to the New York Sun, the newspaper in New York, and it says, "Watch Sagamore Hill 4," and the rest is censored. And the reporter takes it to TR and says, "Look at this." And TR goes, "Not good. It's not good." And it's not Archie and Ted, because they're wounded, so they're behind the lines, they're recuperating. And Kermit is coming from, he's in transit in the Middle East, so he should be okay. It's Quentin. Don't tell. Don't tell. But then the word comes in. But they still don't know what happened. He's crashed planes before and walked away from them. Did he walk away? Was he wounded? Was he captured? Was he dead? And the word comes back when the Germans drop his personal effects behind the lines, the statement in the Swiss newspaper. The TR gets the word. He and Mrs. Roosevelt come down the stairs, and it's all stiff upper lip because they've argued for this war, and they have a certain Victorian sense of what is right and what is duty. But they're still parents, and they still mourn. And TR walks away afterwards and goes to the stable on the grounds of Sagamore Hill, where Kermit's miniature Shetland pony, this high, Algonquin, was still there. And at one point, Kermit had brought this up to on the White House elevator. It was a very famous thing that Archie is sick in the both of the boys. And TR goes to that stable and flings his arm around that pony and sobs and sobs and sobs. Picture here on the cover here is very significant. And when you see newsreels of TR talking, he's always doing this. This is the TR movement. JFK is like this, TR is like this. He's holding on for dear life. Okay? He's holding up the tent above him in Columbus, Ohio, September 30th, 1918. In February, even before Kermit's death, TR has an operation at Sagamore Hill. No anesthetic, no hospital. It's on an abscess, a pretty private spot. And he goes to New York City the next day. He's going to go on a tour to raise money for the war effort. He lays down on the couch that night, and there's blood all over the couch. They take him to Roosevelt Hospital in Manhattan, and he's on a death watch. This is the after effects of the Amazon fever, and it's affecting him. He's in the hospital for a month, and when he's operated on for the abscess to clean that up even further, he says, I've had problems in my ears. They look into that as well. Also from the Amazon. They go in and they wreck the canal for his left ear. So he comes out of the hospital and he's blind. He's been blind in one eye since the White House days when he lost it in a boxing match. He's deaf in one ear. And when your hearing can be connected to your equilibrium. He can't walk. He's got no sense of balance left. He has to learn how to walk again at this point in 1918. And then on Armistice Day itself, he goes into the hospital again. It's not the jungle fever, and I can't tell you exactly what it is. The doctors didn't seem to be able to tell you. It was either sciatica or rheumatism, arthritis, something, but it hurt like hell. And he's in the hospital from November 11th, Christmas Eve, 1918. He suffers a pulmonary embolism at one point in it. He has a fever of 103. He still comes out because he's TR, and damn it, he wants to be home for Christmas. But the house empties out. The children, the relatives, all depart in early January. And his situation does not improve any. On January 5, Sunday, he starts turning down visitors who are arriving, and he cannot even sign his name to correspondence. He palms off speaking engagements. He goes to bed that night, says turn out the lights, and in the middle of the night, he passes away. Woodrow Wilson's Vice President Thomas Marshall famously said, death had to take him in his sleep because otherwise there would have been a fight. I'm not sure who would have won that. It was both going away. But anyway, that's the story in a nutshell. And if any of you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them and or evade them.
I do have some questions.